to the books I read in May. This month was my best month till date. I read 11 books in total. So let's start. So this doesn't last like an hour to do. The first book I read, or rather, I'm gonna count them all together. I read them like in different times during the month, but I'm gonna count them all together, is the Heartstopper series. So I reread the entire series. I've only ever read this in online format, so this was my first time reading them in a physical format. And yeah, so for those who don't know, Heartstopper is a story about Nick and Charlie. They meet at school, and it's about them becoming friends, and later on, more than that, they fall in love. And oh my god, okay. uh, so this series, what do I even have to say about this? This is one of my favorite series out there. It is just really wholesome. I love the art style. Let me try and show you. Oh wait, I'm gonna show from the first book so I don't spoil anyone. Here is an example of the art style. It's just clean lines, not any color. Or if there is color, there are some that have color, but it's very few colors. Usually it's just like one tone or something. But the majority of it is done in black and white, and it's just very nice, clean artwork, line work. I just love this. This is one of my favorite art styles ever. And the story itself is just really wholesome. It's just like slice of life, kind of coming of age type of story. So if you like that type of thing, I would really recommend this. I think that's not surprising. I'd say from the four of them, even though they're all 5 stars for me, I have a particular love for the third volume. I really like this one just because it sets place in like Paris, and we get to see like their relationship more. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, out of all of them, this is probably the one I like the most. I also really like the speech between Nick's mother and Nick's mother and Nick, by Nick and his mother, on the fourth book. It's a really important speech. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to give spoilers, but it's really important, and I think it needs to be talked about more. So yeah, I'm excited to see these 2 books being adapted into the TV show. We already got confirmation that we're gonna have 2 more seasons, which is awesome. So I can't wait to see these being adapted. I think they will do a really good job. And I didn't read this for any challenge. I just read it because of the show. I wanted to reread them because of it. This past month and this month, I have been preparing for the degree show that I'm gonna have for my final, because it's my final year of university. And we are setting our room is like one of the fine art studios, and next to it is the children books illustration studio. So I went into there because there was no one inside, and they just had like a bunch of kids books, just that the students brought in, I guess. Also books that the students made themselves, and just a bunch of stuff in different languages. And it was really nice. It was just really, really cute. Really cute stuff. And I kind of spent like an hour there instead of painting our degree showroom. But, who can blame? So I read 3 books that I'm going to include. I read a bit more, but I'm just going to include 3, which were books I found that were in Portuguese and in Spanish. So the first one I'm gonna talk about, I don't know if I rate these all together. They're like kids books that don't really have much of a story, but I don't really know. But the first one I read was Menina Nino or Menina, I don't know which order it is, by Joana Estrela, and I gave it 4 stars. It's just about identity and trying to explain that people don't need to go by she, her, or he, him every time. That just because you are born a girl that you are necessarily a girl, and that you don't need to be either, or that you can be both, or you can be whatever. And it's just a really nice discussion of gender, and yeah. So because of that, I gave it a 4 stars. I think it was really nice, really like a really perfect way to explain it to kids. Next, I read, pardon my pronunciation, I don't know how to speak Spanish, but it's like pajaritos, pasari, I don't know, like two birds. I know what it means, but I don't know how to pronounce it. By Diego Francisco Sanchez. And I gave that also 4 stars. It's a book with no words, it's just illustrations, but the story, it's so adorable. It made me, I was so sad by the end of it. It's just, I don't really know if there is much of a lesson necessarily, but it was just like this tree, and there were birds living in it, and it was like two birds, and they would come in and bring new stuff and put it on the tree. And then they kept on bringing more stuff. It was getting too heavy, and the tree, like the branches fell, and they didn't have a home anymore. And I was like, oh my god, this is so sad. This is the saddest thing ever. But the illustrations were really well done, and there was no words, and I think that was like the magic behind it, that they managed to make me feel the feels without using any words. Next book that I read, that I'm gonna count for this, I didn't like as much. I don't really remember what it was about, I'll be honest. So I'm just gonna put it here. It's called Tu Tão Grande Canção Cada Vez Maior by Isabel Means Martins and one more person, which I didn't include on my thingy here. Um, I don't remember. I legit don't remember what this was about, but I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars, so I didn't like it that much. But for the life of me, I cannot remember what this was about. Which honestly says more about the book than anything else. So I'm just gonna leave the cover there, and you do with that what you must. Moving on from these children books I read the next volume of Death Note. I started reading Death Note in the beginning of January, I believe. I don't remember. I think the first 3 volumes I read in January, and this month I read the 4th volume. I wanted to read more, but I didn't really have more time, so I only read the 4th volume, and it was okay. It wasn't too good. Well, not too good. It wasn't as good as the other volumes, but it was still okay. It was still an okay read, and I'm still looking forward to see like where it's gonna go. So we will see. For those who don't know, Death Note is about a boy who finds a death note, like a notebook of death. And in that book, he can write names and the way they die, the way the person dies, and when. Within like a month span or something, or is that when he controls his actions? No, that's when he controls their actions. Never mind. But yeah, he can write the name of the person, when they die, and how they die. And it's just like this story of power, and whether doing the what you think is the right thing is actually the right thing. And this was just a continuation. I don't really want to say much about it because I would be giving spoilers. So yeah, it wasn't as good as the other ones. I give it a 3.5 stars. Probably more close to the 3 stars, I would say. The last 3 books I read were all for challenges of this month. The first one, finally, The Song of Achilles. I almost punched myself doing that. Okay. The Song of Achilles by Madeleine Miller. This book I read for the challenge. Well, actually, I initially wanted to read it for the challenge we had in March, which was a book that won a winner. That won a Women's Prize for Fiction award, but I didn't have time. I only started it in March. I think I read like 10 chapters or something in March, so I didn't really go too far with it. So I finished it this month, and I used it for the challenge. A book that everyone has seemed to have read but you, which honestly, this book has become so big lately with TikTok and just Instagram and booktube and everything. So it really feels like everyone has read this, and I was one of the few who haven't. So I used it for that. And this book follows the story of Achilles and Patroclus, which I had no idea existed. I'll be real. Um, and it's just about their relationship, about them like growing up, and then later on going into war for the Trojan War. And it is just, I don't know, like, oh, I have mixed feelings about this book. I think both me and Mia have the same mixed feelings about this book because a lot of people love this book and it's really, really big. Everyone, like, loves it. Everyone cries with the ending. Everyone, like, has so many big feelings about it. And, well, I thought it was very well written. Like, I didn't think it was a 5 stars. I think it's a little overrated. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because it's not my favorite type of subject. Like I like Greek mythology, but this one was just I don't know. It was not that it was too focused on the mythology itself. It's just that I like Greek mythology in a modern context, and this was full on like the actual context of Greek mythology, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it got a little boring at times, and it was just a little bit. It dragged a little. I think is what I'm trying to say. It dragged a little, and just I don't know. I was expecting the end. I know what happens. I know that it. Well, I'm not gonna say anything in case people reading this don't know, but like I knew what was gonna happen because we study this type of thing. I actually don't know. Do we study the Trojan War in history class in Portugal, or is that just like a weird memory that I have? Because I honestly feel like we did. What like isn't the Trojan War the one with the horse? Like they made a horse out of wood. Isn't that this one? I feel like it is. I don't know, but for some reason I already knew how this ended. I think it was history class. So yeah, I wasn't like not expecting it, and it didn't make me cry because I already knew how it was gonna end. Maybe if I hadn't have known, I would have cried. I don't. I feel like even if I didn't know, I still wouldn't have cried, simply because you can kind of see where the story is going, like from the middle of the book forwards. This book I read for challenge book with a similar title to another book. It's The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky by Mackenzie Lee. And oh, I've been writing her name wrong all this time. It's just with an I at the end. Well, this book is the continuation of her first book within the Montague siblings series. I don't know if that's the name of the series. I think it might be like Montague something on that series that she has. So I read the first one, which was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I think I read it like maybe 3 years ago or something. At the time, I gave that one a 4 stars, but like I swear I think about that book at least once a month. So I think that book is a 5 stars for me. I think I've changed my mind when it comes to that. And this one is the continuation of that one. It's a really short novel. I think it's easier if I explain first what Gentleman's Guide for Vice and Virtue is about. That book is about Monty and Percy. Monty is going on this grand tour. He's like a rich guy, and he's going on his grand tour of Europe before he starts, settling in and working. And he takes his sister and his best friend, Percy, on this tour. And it's just like this big adventure, and they come come to terms. Hmm, they face numerous types of people, and they have to surpass many obstacles, let's say. And they also come to terms with their sexualities and just their feelings and everything. And this book, Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, as the name suggests, is about Monty and Percy getting lucky. in the, you know, wait, I'm not gonna say it. But I didn't know why I didn't think it was about that. When my housemate saw this, she started reading because she thought it was about that, and she was right. I didn't think it was going to be. It was going that route, but it definitely is. It could have been called. Let's see. 5 times Monty tried to get laid, and the one time he finally did. Just to give you a gist of what this book is about. But it was really good. It was really, really good. There's a really nice portion about their feelings, about like Monty trying to explain his feelings and why he doesn't feel like he's lovable, and why for him like sex is something without meaning, and it's something that's quick, and that only happens like once with this person. Is always like a not one night stand. And yeah, it's really powerful, that speech, like where he's trying to explain it to Percy. And there's also really nice comedy in this book. It is really funny. I really loved it, and I give it a 5 stars. Next and final book I read this month was actually a reread. I reread Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and I read this for the challenge. A book whose title. Wait, let me actually check what the challenge is. Oh, book that has the same title or lyrics of a song. That's what I read this for. So this Carry On is inspired by Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. You know, carry on, as if nothing really matters. Anyways, there's even a reference to that song inside this book that I didn't remember was in the book, but it is, which is kind of funny. This book is my favorite book ever. I always say that this is my favorite book, and I wanted to see if it was still really good. Also, because I want to reread the series so I can read the last one. And I can say really happily that it remains my favorite book ever. It is about Simon and Baz. Well, yeah, it is about Simon and Baz. It's about Baz's mother's murder, and they're trying to figure out who killed his mother, pretty much. I feel like that's a little bit spoilery, but that's pretty much the gist of the book. So, yeah, that's what the book is about. And they just. Oh, and it takes place in a magical world. It's kind of like Harry Potter if Harry Potter was gay. But because it is so similar, well, it's not so similar. It shares some similarities to Harry Potter, like that you can see right from the start. There's like Simon, who's the chosen one, to like he's been chosen to save the world from this terrible evil that's eating magic. So there's not exactly a Voldemort in this one, but there is something called the Humdrum. I don't know how to pronounce that. Like the Humdrum? I'll put it on the screen. I don't know how to pronounce that. I always read it like Humdrum. But this thing that's kind of like Voldemort, but not. Instead of trying to kill, Muggleborns, this evil force is literally eating magic from the atmosphere. So what this thing does is he creates holes in the atmosphere where he sucks all of the magic out. So when mages are in that area that's been like affected, they don't have magic and they can't perform magic. It's like the magic is sucked out of them once they are in those zones. So it's a little bit different from Voldemort, just a tiny bit. And Simon is expected to, fix that. And it has also vampires and like all sorts of magical creatures. It has like pixies and like trolls, a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, this will continue until the time being. My favorite book ever, and I can't wait to read the next ones. With that said, that was the books I read this month, 11 in total. And next month, before we finish this video, next month's challenges are almost all queer. Don't we love that? Pride Month? Pride Month. So, Here are the challenges for June.
As the time of editing this video is very late, so if you want to see our recent challenges for the month of September, then you can check the description in this video.
With that in mind, if you'd like to follow our competition and you'd like to see us, you'd like for us to see what you've read so far, then use the hashtag on the screen on both your Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Whatever it is, me and Mia will see it most likely. So yeah, just follow along and tag us if you want to. If you like this video, then feel free to subscribe, maybe leave a like, and I will see you next month. Bye!